something in that location, is that what you're saying? Just
You mean interchange off the freeway?
Right.
Yeah. Which was one of the things, you know, that
Right.
kept this becoming a
Right.
5-lane, whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
But just to work off of that,
The town,
Yes, absolutely
the
can.
town
Yeah.
council, the town council already agreed to a potential four-way interchange up there and sent that to the state. The state asked them, you know, well, I think Grapevine asked them, would you, or, I'm not sure whether it was Grapevine or it's UDOT or whatever. And the town council voted to say, yes, we thought this was an acceptable idea.
Right.
That's been sent.
Right.
But that should show up on your master road plan. You know, I don't know.
Well, there was no indication, it was in between Tokerville exit and the first Leeds exit.
But
There was no,
conceptually,
Yeah.
maybe you draw a big bubble and say, within this bubble, we believe that there should be a new four-way interchange. Yeah,
and then work
that's-
off of that.
Sure.
I don't have any problem with that, Bill.
As soon as I find out when it's gonna be specifically, I want to invite each of you. Horrocks Engineering is completing this $50,000 study that they've been doing that we heard about a year ago. And it's not just about Leeds and Grapevine, it's about most of the county. And he's scheduling for next week. He thinks they'll be through and ready to present it. So I will let you know. And among the things, or a lot of the things that you're talking about right now, it would be very helpful to see what the planning is looking like for 2040, which is only, 25 years away, and further out, to kind of fit all this together. And it's not to say that whatever is being planned will ever happen. I mean, you know, who knows what will happen economically, but anyway, I just want to let you know that there is going to be something pretty soon. It's not ready next week. I'll let you know as soon as I have a date and time.
You know where that'll be going? Downtown?
Maybe, but since they were going to specifically address the rural, which is Leeds, Tokerville, Hurricane, Laverton, it usually is in one of those town halls. I'm not sure where yet.
Right now, I don't mind that, if we table this, then we gotta do something within, 3 meetings? Galen said it was, a year and a half ago. The other council, I mean, I hate to say that we do it in a month and a half.
It's pretty longer than that.
And I agree that something needs to be done, but I think Stuart Riley said that you're not gonna agree one way, and you're not giving an inch either, and I believe that you're gonna have to put some lines on a map. There's gonna be some proposals, maybe not as many
I don't think it needs to be as
extensive as it is now.
But I think we need to show some, I don't know,
Something that moves us out of the amateur ranks.
Right.
right.
Does everybody still have their,
I should have to.
all right, well, if we're gonna table this, then I would like to see everyone actually start writing minimalistic ideas of, not necessarily like he explained, that we don't need to do the smaller roads, we just need to do major corridors.
Like the four-lane thing that's
Four-lane.
gonna empty all of this somewhere, or there's not really over here that needs to be emptied, but then we don't have to worry about these guys, which, you know, eventually, if they're annexed, then we will,
Right.
and then we may be gonna be,
Personally, I'll show you exactly, I think somewhere in this area here interchange
Where's the one now?
right here
That's the bottom one.
and right here. Because
Okay.
there are specifications with the state that you can't have interchanges too close
Right.
together. That's the reason I'm doing it over here, because I know you can't have them, you create too many safety issues.
Right.
So I'm saying something over here, preferably maybe in our, because this is annexed right here, and we're doing our master road plan. So somewhere in this area here, we have our 4-lane, we do something maybe less like this.
Right.
Somebody
I
on
mean,
St. George said
I mean,
you
I think
can't
it'll-
have too close of interchanges, whether
Because
they got three
this-
of them within 2 miles.
This right here, you're not gonna be able to access, there's too much of a wash here. This area up here, you can, because I've been up this area. This area, this is the edge of the property line. So if you go down like this is county,
Yeah.
it's not private. This area here, you're gonna run into wetlands, you're gonna run into agricultural protection.
I don't know what this looks like, right, and rather than go down, I mean, this is wrong, but rather than go down the middle, why don't we just keep it right?
Yeah,
down
that's
the edge?
fine, I just was,
Yeah.
you're fine, yep.
Section lines, make some
Right.
section lines or
Yeah.
property lines or something
So-
down.
Property lines, rather than go through the middle
That
of
way you're
of
taking
a property.
You're sharing
Yeah,
people's-
yeah, go down.
Yeah.
And there
down the
is
middle.
Down the
there
middle of
is
the
a
property.
road that connects here,
Now,
and
there's
this
a
would,
gate somewhere on one of
all right, well, what we would do is this, take it out to the interchange,
those. Right.
okay? And then we're not even doing anything to this point for agriculture protection, the fact that there's a big huge ditch, so there you go. That's,
No, I mean, and
Okay.
that, to a way suffices this, I mean, eventually they'll probably take this and make over here.
right, but
That
this
only
is
makes
a
sense.
this is a subdivision
Right.
road, he said we don't have to do.
Right,
So I'm hoping that if we do something where there's, and it goes out that way, it doesn't connect, and if it's up to the subdivider if they wanna do that part, not
Right.
up to us.
right,
Okay, so then that's that. This is a major, I think we need to create this as our major
if we're gonna
ingress,
use that,
egress.
then yeah, we need to.
We need to add it into that.
So if you take the major blocks of privately owned property and you provide some access, then you're doing the task. That's
Okay.
focus.
This is Red Cliff Desert Tortoise Reserve.
You probably don't need to worry about that.
So we're not gonna try that. This area here, I'm not quite sure what you can do with this because there's quite a few,
Doesn't train.
well, the terrain's horrible, it's horrific, and it's deeded, okay. What's the wetlands thing, the Utah, the Department of, let's see,
Corps of Engineers, the 404 areas.
what the heck is that called?
Riparian,
Flood control zone?
It's a-
riparian,
I think, what did you say, riparian?
riparian,
It's either riparian or something with a number, I can't remember, but this area right here
That's all.
is protected because there's 3 springs up there too, so I think.
It ought to be protected.
And this area right here too is another, I think it's, we're not gonna worry about that part.
No, that's, yeah.
This area we can't do anything with, it's another area where, this is Roundy Mountain, it just dead ends, I don't think we need to worry
Right, not
about
off
that.
the post office.
Mhm. Okay, this area here isn't even developed, and I don't even know if we have, since it's a subdivision, we don't really need to worry
Well,
about it, right?
You
Or
know,
yes?
ultimately, all these areas ultimately can be subdivision. I guess my comment is you don't need to worry about where these little minor streets go. You know,
Okay.
Down
you need to focus on, you know, where are the major, where are your bigger roads, the collector streets? You know, the backbone of the street network.
Okay, well, I think Maintown,
I think that's
Has-
fine.
The main
it's
town
been
is
around
taken
for
care of, this. You
100,
got Main Street.
okay,
then
and
you
2
go-
interchange things.
We get in, then in.
Personally, I only think the only one we need to put in for our master road is this at this
Yes.
point, because, and your interchange.
You're
I
gonna have
would
something,
just-
Courtney, whether Grapevine develops or something else, there's developable ground out there, so somewhere there needs to be a road.
So this, right, which would
Well, there
connect.
is a road there that's 60 feet wide.
The Babylon. you
Well,
know.
this would be your ingress, this would be
Yeah.
your egress.
I mean,
And I don't think we need to do the roads around here, we just need to place where they ingress, where they egress.
Well, the Babylon Road, because of the acreage that's potentially developable, is probably someday gonna be more than just a 2-lane road.
Oh, yeah, it'll be 4 to 6.
So if we
you
do
know.
ingress,
But
egress,
not
and we
much
don't
is like-
create the roads for them to develop on, because who
Right.
knows where that would be, is
Well,
that
then-
substantial enough to have on a master road plan? I mean, can we do this?
And, you know, and if you want to draw a dashed line, which, shows, it's obviously very conceptual,
Okay,
something like that, where that just shows a general intent of trying to get between 2 points.
So, they're not gonna do anything to this intersection, is what you're saying? Where
no,
is that?
you mean, what
The one by
intersection?
the interchange, the one by the post office.
This, no, I think they were, I don't know, it's up to, I guess it's up to
It
whatever they
was all
decide.
on this, but that take out.
It would take out Walton Plaza, and it would take out,
Well, there was nothing about the old pond over there, they.
Yeah.
Here, but most of the talk on that grapevine was up here someplace.
well, the other problem with this, and I know you know, from here to here is one of the most horrific accident
yeah.
places.
Yeah.
So if you add another interchange to that, can you imagine trying to get on the freeway right here? It just, I
Well,
hope.
it'd be easier than going down there
That's what we have to do.
Well, I think this curve is one of the most
Oh, it is.
dangerous
It is.
curves in the whole state of Utah. There's so many accidents. I can't even imagine putting an interchange right
Well, no, I
here
don't
to
think
get
they
on.
will, I just didn't know if something had been said that, no, they're not. So if they put one here, will they do away with this?
No, I think they'll keep it, because,
I mean,
it's
who
there.
knows?
Snow was saying at one
We don't
time,
know.
if we put another intersection, he was gonna do away with 22.
Well,
And now that was snow with the
Yeah.
UDOT, being
Well, I guess we'll
snow.
know next week if they have any proposals.
you know, tonight, I don't have a problem with passing this on to the planning commission saying, or I'm sorry, to the town council, we propose this road, this interchange,
And then this.
and
egress.
this ingress egress here.
To start.
Yeah. And then as, I mean, just because it's there today,
Right.
doesn't mean tomorrow that somebody's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna incorporate this into the city of Leeds.
Right,
I need you guys to look at the roads for me.
exactly, but at least we have something where it's not so much of
Just a bunch of lines.
just a bunch of lines.
One
So-
thing, and I think Susan, the one thing that she didn't like was something going across her property.
Well,
You know,
I don't
down the
blame-
line.
I don't
The-
blame
No, I
her
don't
there.
either.
I mean,
The
That's
other
down
ones-
down the
In
line.
fact,
Right.
do I have the other map? Do we have the other map here, Czar? The other map literally has a road through Don Goddard's house.
Yeah. and
It goes through here.
Somebody's up here, Howard's or something.
Yeah,
up
it goes
here.
through his house, and
And
I think it worked
I think what happened there is,
a Sharpie
was-
marker.
it was a Sharpie marker, it went to Sunrise, Sunrise says, well, okay, let's see, that's gotta go, and they didn't know, they did the best they could with what they got.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't, Sunrise don't blame, I think it was more, that was on the planning commission, but we'll see.
So I'm thinking we dash this line because well, and it could even go around here. Dash it down to this. Take it out this way so we have another ingress egress for this
Right.
area. Continue this on for the ingress egress of the northern part. Town is fine, and we call it good and send it to the plan, or to the town council.
What about the name? Now, you had mentioned, the state says you gotta have a
Well,
Either
the
master
circulate-
road-
traffic circulation.
Right.
traffic
Yeah,
circulation.
The
Do you
master
wanna-
road plan, that is the traffic circulation.
You wanna call it that, or you wanna call it master? You wanna-
Traffic
We're not
circulation,
doing
we'd
mass
have to,
transit.
we'd have to put in
Bike
like bike
lanes.
lanes and stuff,
Oh,
but.
Four-wheeler trail.
You know, you
Yeah.
can call it a master road plan, you can call it traffic circulation element, it's essentially the same thing.
So if we have it on tonight as a master road plan,
Unless we change the name in the discussion, then we really gotta keep it master road plan.
Yeah, and that's, I think, synonymous with the traffic circulation, they're the same thing.
and all we would do is have a big, huge, colorful circle right here that says somewhere here we would like to have an interchange. And this would be the ingress for this area here, and this would be the egress,
Or vice versa.
or what, yeah.
This would be your two in and outs.
Yeah,
And, well, you were saying, didn't want it, you'd want it way up there. Here, they'd do away with this interchange right here, I'm sure.
Well, that doesn't really
Keep
matter.
22
and this is the reason I don't wanna see this necessarily, touch it, is until we figure out what they're doing, I think we just need to be very minimalistic on, you know, we could pass this, we could take it to them, and next week they could say, well, we're putting this here, we're putting that there, and we would have to kind of change it then, but at least we're starting and we're not, this
Right.
doesn't have to be on the
So
same,
we're not solving any.
exactly.
And, I mean,
we're
we
not
are, because
tabling
we're
forever.
we're taking 60 feet out of each brother's property if we, or if the developer comes up with through.
Okay, how about
You
this?
don't wanna move the interchange too far up here because of the flow. You want the flow to get on the freeway as fast as possible, not everybody coming through
Everybody has
town.
to come clear up here to get on the freeway.
Yeah.
No,
not
because
many
I'm
people are
hoping
gonna
they'll
do
still
that.
keep these, but no, what I'm saying is, look at this, if we have a entrance here, entrance this way, and an exit, of course, you know, this way, if these people right here wanna get on the freeway fast, instead of going down this, what if we go down this way? So that it doesn't bring it back into the congestion here, it goes down this way, it's a short hop, skip, and a jump to there, and we have a full circle.
Right.
So we don't do this, we just take it out here, take it along this property. This is already a road right here that is named, I believe. Take it out to this, and then
We're
you
gonna
have,
go onto it.
People are gonna take the closest way.
right,
You get
so you're
building
either
going
gonna
out
take
here,
it this
trucks are
way.
gonna go
So if you're gonna go
down,
north,
everything's
it
going
comes-
down,
yeah.
but everybody's going
Next
south, you know.
interchange is just off the map up here, isn't
It's, no, it's actually a little bit further, because this is, like, your,
It's 29, I
it?
think.
Anderson, call it one of Anderson.
it's Anderson Junction, but this part here, we have, all of our fields are up here. And when you get to this part here, you still have about 4 minutes. 4 minutes, and then you have to do that weird roundabout. Well, it's not even a roundabout, it's like a death trap there, I don't know. Anyway, but if we conceptually put that there and put this,
Well, I'll tell you, my thinking on that, the closer in, the better, because,
Well,
Okay.
that's
A lot
gonna be
of
up to the
the
state
conflicts-
anyway. don't
well,
know.
I understand that, but a lot of the, other thing is to get traffic,
I see what you're
Right.
saying.
rather than to come down through here, all the way through town. and all
They're
your-
gonna go through town.
Okay.
Say if they were building out here or building here, it's easier to go back to St. George this
Yeah.
way and to come in this way than to go way up there and then come back down. So the closer in,
the more effective.
the more effective.
What if we do it here, where we come out here and it's, this is a Casa de Oro. So that's not that far from this, this would alleviate this area here, this area that may be developed here, and put it on without obstructing anyone's middle of their road, like Susan was saying.
Well, again, until the state tells us where they think they need to put it, they're gonna put it in the easiest
Where they-
place.
yeah,
available.
What about this? Instead of a circle, what if we put a rectangle?
Well, you just say
This
interchange
somewhere
from here
between
to,
here to here, we want
there'll be an
an
interchange.
interchange. We don't have to put the circle.
I was wondering, has UDOT previously indicated a preference for a northern interchange?
They have not.
No.
So the only comment, I think Gerald had a lot of sense in the, the closer to the
Right.
town, the more it's gonna get used
Right.
by Leeds residents.
Yeah.
If you put it too far up, then it's just sending them on a U-turn thing.
Okay, so if we put some square like this,
There you go. Almost there now.
where is
No,
that?
I mean, just do away with this with 23.
You do have it right across the street, you mark it pretty good.
Right. So between here and here, I'd still like to see this come out so that we have, because this can take that exit or can take that exit, because they're not always going to St. George. Someone may want to go to Cedar.
Yeah, one or two, not very many. Cedar.
Well, let's see, I try to
Snow
start
there.
about once a
Closer.
year.
You know, it's closer to
No,
Cedar
and I
than it
think- I
is to
think
my kids'
Whether it be
school.
this way or this way will depend on the interchange.
Right.
So,
But I think for right now, if we do this, and
Right.
put a light blue, well, I don't care what color, light rectangular thing, just with a caption that says, somewhere around here, we'd like our four-wheel interchange, and then this, the ingress, egress, and we call it good.
that works for me. But I just think we need to do something,
I agree.
and I know later on down the road when grandkids are developing our property, they're gonna cuss us. But I'm okay to hear it.
What were they thinking?
Okay, so, do I need a motion on that?
Yeah, you did a motion to sending it on to town council.
Okay, I I will take this tomorrow to, well, I guess I'm doing this prematurely. First of all,
I make a motion that we keep it as a master road plan, for one, and make the changes as noted on the map as, and I call it the start of our master road plan, because it will
Yeah.
not ever stop.
you're right.
And send it to town council for evaluation,
Okay.
for discussion.
Did you repeat the motion?
Oh, sure.
Do you want me to rewind it?
Keep as what?
Keep,
Amend the master road plan.
amend the master road plan, but keep it as a master road plan. So we're not changing the name of it, we're not getting rid of it, because that was one of the discussion items, I believe.
Okay, I got you on tapes.
Okay. And then make changes as noted on the map as far as getting an ingress from, I don't know what the subdivision is up here.
I just
Do
drew
you do
like,
the changes
Just-
just to be
just-
verbal?
just- you don't have to,
Yeah,
I would just call it northern.
we'll just say on the map.
Or,
yeah, what's on the map?
What's on the map?
Make changes. as
Make
noted on
changes
the map.
as noted on the map as part of the master road plan.
Okay, so the map will be the exhibit then, yes.
I will take this map to Sunrise tomorrow morning, and I will ask them to make these changes. This, and a gray area.
And I would put something here, just, and I don't care if it dead ends, I don't think it needs to even connect, but maybe just write ingress, egress proposed. So that we're dealing with this too, because that's gonna be something I have to do one day. Well, something will be,
Like,
your grandkids are fine, they're gonna have it. And that's all right.
I grew up there.
In Havasu?
Yes, that's where I'm from. I'm actually from Parker. River
Really?
girl, my whole life. It was
Now I know what's
wonderful.
wrong with you.
I know, that's what David says every day of his life.
Too much sun.
How did you?
It's great though,
There,
but
it
that's not to do
is.
with this.
It's a wonderful place.
I used to drive through there as fast as I could.
Did you see a bunch of redheads from? No, I'm kidding. Okay,
So does that,
You got a motion?
so we have a motion on the table. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
We just need to do something.
Yep.
I mean, whether it just be one road, I don't, you know, and it's, I
I
don't think it's
got,
that.
Bill, you got a unanimous decision.
It's
Okay,
wonderful.
thank you.
All right, we'll continue on to a discussion of possible action regarding agricultural protection area. In doing research, I need to find my little paper, hold on. Okay, I have in our packet an agricultural protection area checklist, and originally, the family trust that brought this, including myself, was told that there was not an application to do this, and so they asked me to do that, which I did. Now I see that there is one, the applicants.
I'll call it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking for.
Draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is strictly draft, so it's a draft. really.
Oh, it's a
He
draft.
sent that, yeah.
Okay.
Bob developed this.
All right, now that these, and help me with this, Bob, both Sterling families went to the planning commission, then they were told to go to the town council then kicked it back to us, and now we're supposed to, we didn't have it as an action item last time, so we have it as an action item this time. Do I have to take, it says, and I believe you have it in your recommendation, that it's a 45-day, isn't there something about 45 days? Is this application checklist, is this deemed warranted because they've already turned in all of their application, which is similar to this, minus the $200, which was never,
Yeah, well, it's all a draft application, just like,
okay.
realizing that there was gonna be something coming forward, I didn't know you formally submitted it, but the process is, it goes first to the town council, they're supposed to publish a notice in the paper saying, we've got a proposal that's been formally submitted, and the notice says a few things, it's actually called, pretty well laid out in the state law.
Right.
And then they also, I mean, at some point, they have to give notice of a public hearing, but in between that, they refer it to, the town council refers the proposal to the planning commission.
Right.
You have 45 days to come back, and the state law lists 5 questions that are supposed to be evaluated, and then also
Which I
to
did.
the county, the county agricultural protection advisory board, which is chaired by Stuart Bowler, actually lives in Penguich, apparently.
Oh, he does, I thought he lived in Vale. Must be a different.
Well,
story.
I think this is different, but he said there's Tice, is it Palmer?
Oh, yeah.
Tice Palmer's on the board, and so he suggested, he says, well, why don't you forward the application to Tice, and he'll get it. And anyway, they have 45 days
Okay.
to make a written submittal, and they both go back to the town council, and the town council then has these 2 recommendations, one from the planning commission, one from the ag advisory board, and they consider those and have their public hearing, and then designate the property. And the criteria that's outlined in the state code is this. And this is for the planning commission, the ag advisory board, and the town council are supposed to look at it in terms of these questions. Whether or not the land is currently being used for agricultural production. Second, whether or not the land is zoned for agricultural use. 3, whether or not the land is viable for agricultural production. 4, the extent and nature of existing or proposed farm improvements. And 5, anticipated trends in agricultural and technological conditions.
Okay.
So those are some 5 fairly straightforward, questions, and then, the town council can designate that area as an ag protection area. Now, Hurricane has taken a little different approach, it's a little more formal, where they have amended their zoning code and made the ag protection an actual zone in the town. So, and that has pros and cons. The pros, it is more formal, and it's, and they probably show it on the map, which you could do as well. I mean, you can cross-hatch it over your zoning map. The downside is anytime you want to change it, it's amending a zoning code, which is a public hearing and a notice, and it goes planning commission, town council, and all that, where the state law doesn't say it has to be that formal. I mean, Hurricane's kind of taken it to this level of it actually being a zoning district, when it really is just it's an ag protection area, and once you designate it as such, then it has all the protections that are outlined in the state code. And one is, protection from eminent domain and nuisances. Normal agricultural nuisances don't apply to these areas. I mean, they're not exempt from all nuisances, but, so there's some protections outlined in the state law, that once the town council designates it as an ag protection area, that they're entitled to. So that seems, there's really no purpose to go beyond that,
Was there something in past history that prompted Hurricane
I
to
have
do
no
that?
idea.
They have, it's called an ag protection overlay zone, and so they don't actually change your zoning, they put an overlay on it, because we also
Right.
have acres over in Hurricane that we're in the process of doing that. In the overlay zone, it just creates one more asset, because you have to, it's on their plat map too. Anybody that plats directly close to it's supposed to be on there anyway. But I did go ahead and answer all 5 questions, because I did the criteria evaluating proposals. And in evaluation of the proposed agricultural protection area, the Leeds Planning Commission Chair finds use of land, current use of all land for proposed area is an agricultural use, including green belt. And if you look at every one of these in your packet too, all of the parcel IDs, if you pull those up, they are included in Greenbelt. And Greenbelt is a state, will you explain Greenbelt except for?
Well, it's
The tax.
yeah, it gives a special property tax exemption to property that is being farmed. And so as long as you keep agricultural land within the Green Belt program, your tax rate is very low. Now, if you sell it to a development, then they roll it back 5 years. And as soon as the developer goes to subdivide it, he has to pay 5 years of back taxes on it. So there's a disincentive to do that. I mean, but as long as you're using the land for agricultural use, you get this low, ag tax assessment.
And every single parcel that is in the two areas that are being, both, the ones for Christopher Sterling, Jackie Wright, Mac and Dixie Sterling, Geraldine Sterling, that particular parcel or group, and then there's another group, for David Sterling, William Sterling, Britton, and all of those are in the all of those are in the Greenbelt tax code. If you pull the protection areas, or excuse me, the parcel IDs. What is?
We've got two of them with Geraldine.
I know.
Now, my question
Bob, is there?
on this
Yeah.
example is, because
Yeah.
I thought even Greenbelt was a 5 acre minimum.
It is.
And
Greenbelt is.
How do we have some of these that are less than 5 acres?
You can have your 5 acres all, as long as they're touching and they're owned by the same people.
Yeah, the cumulative area.
Yeah, okay, so,
Yeah, I was gonna question that also.
yeah, as long as they're owned by the same people and they're, touching. So, okay, so the use of the land, the current use of all the land for proposed area is in Greenbelt, which would mean that it is in agricultural, at this point. Zoning, current zoning is rural residential. Viability, current use shows that land is used for agricultural production as included in the Greenbelt parameters. It shows detailed uses for each area. And if you pull up these parcel IDs, you actually have to, you can go to the recorder's office and you have to say whether it's, grazed land, whether it's, orchard, whether it's irrigationable. Anyway, so it goes through. So if there's any question on the viability, that is documented too. The improvement, no improvements required at this time due to all land being used for agricultural production. Trends anticipated. Current trends show that agricultural land is a necessity for production of food. Current owners are dedicated to keeping land area in agricultural production. That is dated 5/1/2013 from myself. So at this point, I would like to, if there's any other discussion, I'd like to have a motion to continue our forward our findings on to the town council.
Just one thought, the other properties out there, the Leeds, of course, they're not agriculture,
Well,
are they?
they're not in the town either.
That's right, yeah,
So
she's
we-
not in the town. Okay.
Yeah, and it actually has to be, it has to be from individual citizens that come to us. We can't really go to them.
Go to the
Yeah.
church fee, we would go to all that, say, hey, we're starting this, we want to be part of it.
And,
No, that's kind of what I was thinking.
yeah, the town, the planning commission doesn't do that. They come to us. So,
And so, yeah, I mean, Danielle, this is obviously this is informal, that's a draft, and whether there's a fee associated, that would be up to the town council. I mean, the town will have some expense, they have to
right.
publish a legal notice. But I think if you have the basic information and a list of all the property owners and the parcel numbers and the acreage, and then you have a map, I assume?
Yep, it was all turned in.
Most of the information.
Yeah. Hey,
Not just
Bob,
this
do you
hand.
have the other, you have two of Geraldine's, but none of David? on-
Yeah, I think that my
Is
gal
it
did do
back
it.
in there?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I know I have that.
All right, so there
Just
are
so there's
maps.
There's another map that goes with it.
Okay, so there's two, this is,
Did you have this one?
yeah, I have that one too. See, in this area down here is, and we can include the proposed evaluation also, unless there's something else that needs to be done.
A motion to approve, accept and approve the agricultural protection area for the Sterling Farm.
There's actually there were two individual groups that came in with that agricultural protection area, and it,
Do I need to make a motion for each of the groups?
I don't believe so, I think that there's two
As brought, as originally.
as originally brought.
Brought in.
Anytime now, as long as the city, town has a formal submittal, then it's submitted to the ag group, the ag advisory board.
So the full council sends it.
Yeah, we need to send it. Tice Palmer, who is the staff person, apparently he'd be the best person to send it to, and then they're supposed to file back just some kind of a written statement back to the town council. Again, as is the planning commission, with the planning commission, there's 5 questions, and maybe Danielle, I don't know, maybe you've answered those already in the report you gave, but those are the questions, that the planning commission is supposed to look at, and whether it's currently being used. Yeah, pretty
I'll
simple.
even have you look at that, and I got it from this, and see if there's anything else.
I thought Danielle already answered all those
Okay,
questions.
and so if that was part of the motion, that this then constitutes you might say, the report of the planning commission back to the council.
Okay.
Is that right? How about we're,
What he said.
because you do answer these questions by so if the planning commission concurs, you know the property. Sounds like it's a very viable agricultural operation,
And if you look at the report that was given, or the actual application that was filed, every one of the parcel IDs are on there, and they can look every one of those up, and every single one is in Greenville.
That's part of what agricultural work.
yeah, they probably, I'm not sure what they evaluated, but they.
On this application, would it require all the signatures of all the people listed on those properties?
And I talked to Hurricane about that, and she said that if you're coming as a whole group, if you have, especially if it's in a trust or something like that, if you have a member of the trust, you're able to do that. And at the current time, there's quite a few people that are sending and mailing because they don't know how to email their signatures as we speak. So they should be in the mail either tomorrow or the next day.
So are we gonna adopt this as an application?
Well, we're just
No.
using,
We are not.
No.
So,
no, you're not adopting it tonight. This is-
We don't
We're
have it
just-
on. we don't have it on our
I just
agenda.
motioned to accept and approve this for the Sterling
just,
family.
Right.
yeah, right.
So
I'm
we
not,
have a
I'm not
motion.
addressing that.
So that, yeah, we want to say, I guess Bob has a copy of that,
I will give him one as soon
okay,
as.
and he has the map.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So we have a motion on the table to approve the agricultural protection areas that both Sterling families have presented to the town council, which then can come to the planning commission. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving right along.
Aye.
Discussion items, chapter 17 of land use ordinance, commercial district. Apparently, we have been asked by the town council to review the zoning ordinance, chapter 17 for a commercial district. I believe this has something to do with
Joe Key's, impound lot, right?
I believe what they want us to just do is, it's a discussion item only, so I think at this point, if we have an opportunity to maybe read it over for the next meeting, maybe we should table it and make any changes that you feel pertinent at this point, and then,
We don't have to table it. It's a
Can we
dis-
do
It's
it
a
now?
discussion item,
okay.
so I don't believe we have to table it.
So to do the discussion item, if we talk about it and make any changes, do we have to have it as an action item for the next meeting?
No, it can be a discussion.
It would be a discussion item
You could
and
do-
possible
Appro-
action. Well, no,
okay.
we would, no, because we'd have to have a public hearing on it.
Okay,
So it'd probably be just a discussion item and then
Okay,
Further down the road would be public hearing.
Well, public hearing only if you're changing the code, right?
Yes.
So if we discuss it next
Right.
week, we're not changing anything, we just
Right.
get it back to the planning commissions, or
Yeah,
the
the
town
town
council
council.
and say, we like it.
Yeah.
Don't mess with it.
okay. All right.
Bob,
So we're looking at, because he's not gonna repair cars, or he said maybe down in the future, did he say something like that?
I don't believe he ever said he was repairing cars.
He said he was not
Basically,
repairing cars.
storing, and that was about it, wasn't it?
but the council wanted a review of this ordinance. And Bob has printed up or sent us and worked on this, these possible changes to this ordinance.
Oh, this is from you.
That's from Bob.
Oh.
And I
thought
wanted
this
to
was
thank
from-
Bob, I wanted to
I'm
thank Bob for
sorry.
that, because
What's your question?
I went through, and I've been reading that chapter 17 for weeks now, and I didn't know, I really didn't have any idea on which direction to go or how to change it. And I appreciate the work you did here.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought this was the commercial district, and I didn't realize that this was new, so.
Well,
Carry
I
on.
should put my name on this, and I put it before the staff report, I just was kind of in a hurry. And I think the focus again was on car uses, car lots, and I think the indication was from the gentleman who at one point wanted to do an impound yard, and now maybe he says, well, it's a sales lot. Well, we need to keep in mind, those are kind of three distinct uses, and there are, and so, you know, we need to maybe define what is a car lot, what is a sales lot for no used automobile or an auto dealership. And that's certain things, you gotta have a Leeds business license, but you also have to have a state license, and the state requirement, I said state requirement includes a properly zoned location, display space for at least 3 cars, a building to house an on-site office that requires a sign of at least 24 square feet, and a bond for at least $75,000, and then a sales tax license in order to collect state sales tax.
Can you explain what the bond is for,
Um,
and who the bond is actually with?
It's with the state for the license, and I suspect it's to,
Any car.
yeah, the car dealer has to have it probably for fraud, or, I don't know exactly why. I just pulled up Google, what are the requirements?
Okay,
But,
I never knew that.
That'd be
Okay.
for clean up after they leave, because that comes in there,
Pardon me?
clean up after they leave, or something.
So if somebody comes to the city and says, I'm gonna have a car lot, then I think it's important that they meet, those criteria. They have a state license, you get a business license. Because if they don't meet the state license, then really it's not a car lot. And so you have an impound yard, and actually an impound yard is not listed as a separate use in the zoning code.
So we have to subcategorize.
So, yeah, you search around for something that's similar, and that's where, the meeting I was here, we, at one point, talked about having it as similar to an automobile repair and storage, and then the meeting on the 17th, he talked about, well, maybe if it is a new or used car dealer.
What about a car auction?
Car dealership.
Or auction?
Well, I think an auction falls under
It's
the auto dealership.
It's not, there's no category, so.
That ought to be a category by
I
itself.
think,
Well, they-
an auction has to meet the same standards as a auto dealership. I believe.
Yeah, your parking situation, an auction's gonna be way different than a dealership.
Wayne Peterson is the one that asked us to review this. And he was very specific about the way he asked us. He said he wasn't expecting us to just put, as one of the permitted uses, an impound lot.
Okay.
Okay, he was asking to, he said, he said this, the existing chapter 17, he said, is confusing. And he said, and his thought was, what he asked from us was how to change this appropriately to make it a little more workable, or, and I've read this over and over and over again, and I had no idea. That's why, when Bob sent us this, You know, you know, it helped a lot, but I don't know if it's gonna help with exactly what Wayne was asking for at that last meeting. I'm still a little confused, but, I guess looking for some guidance.
Just to enlighten you a little bit, I think that in the past, Mr. Pilkey has said a variety of things. His current business license is an impound and towing lot. And the way things are currently stated, I can't grant him a business license for that.
We don't have that as a permitted use.
In the future, he talked about
That's why
down the road doing auto
when he
sales.
came to us and we looked at all this and reviewed it, that, you know, we were thinking it was more 17.2.3.
Exactly.
And because, you know, as I explained to the town council last Wednesday, that he's gonna impound cars, and then he's not gonna, it says used sales. So these are used cars, but not necessarily, he's not selling to the public.
Not yet.
He's selling to, he's selling them to, like an auction or something.
Right.
You know, he's either auctioning them off, he's not actually, that, as far as I understood.
He's not gonna sell them on site.
He's not selling them on site, he's gonna end up, after he keeps them for 30 days, he's gonna take ownership and he's gonna ship them out to wherever they go for him to make the money, the income he wishes to make. Right, take them to Manheim, to the auction, and sell them to them, or you know, that's what I understood. And that's why we chose to go with that, and, you know, I understand why he put on his application that, but, and I understand why you can't approve this. You know, I agree. But how to change this to make it so it's more understandable is, I'm not seeing it. I'm having difficulty seeing how to do that.
I guess my question is this something we want to put in right there?
Well, the town council asked us, basically, the town council
Figure out
asked
how to
us
do
to
it.
review this and to change, and to make changes where we see fit. We can send it back to them and say, you know, hey, we know how to do this, you guys do it. I mean, or however we wanna word it. You know, we can say we like it the way it is, we can, you know, and say, you know, we still feel that it falls under, you know, 17.2.3. I mean, you know, and say, you know, we see it as under that thing, but there are other issues, and,
Right.
you know, on the agenda, it's, I believe it says, the last thing is a discussion item for chapter 6.
Right.
And, you know, I thought it directly impacted what he wants, I think what he wants to do. It depends on how you wanna define chapter 6.
Right.
And I've heard different versions of understanding than the way I understand it. And I can see somebody seeing it that way, but I don't wanna get into chapter 6, but, you know, it's, you know, they were confused,
Here's
and they all
this-
agree.
Well, the first thing we were gonna do was gonna be a conditional use,
Right,
right?
Yeah.
And
right.
then we went with the other, now what's wrong?
Well,
I mean, if we haven't got
it's-
it,
it's a-
rather than
it's-
go
it's-
through and
it's a-
change everything.
well, it's a
Because the
conditional use, but it's not
statement
listed.
talks to, and-
It's not listed as a conditional use.
The conditional use was the auto repair and storage.
See,
And that's
originally,
exactly what he's not.
on
Yeah.
April 2nd, he brought this proposal, and this is what it states. It says, "My proposal is to enclose this parcel, L317246, with a 6-foot fence with a 3-stranded barbed wire header. This will serve as an impound lot. A small office approximately 22 by 18 will be built on the existing site of a former office on parcel L3172471. This will serve as an office for the impound lot and future home of a small used auto dealership. Although the business venture will be a small family-owned operation, future growth will allow jobs for some of our local folks and youth. At this point, I've got to tell you, I have a little bit of compassion on this guy. He came to us April 2nd. He didn't get on the planning commission twice for lack of communication or whatever, but I don't feel like this man has ever tried to inadvertently go beyond the radar or go below the radar. He has been upfront. He came to us and said, what can I do? And I think he's getting kind of a bad deal here because it appears that there's a lot of people in the town that feels like he's already open for business, which he's not. He put some cars there, but we don't have an ordinance in place that says you can't put cars on a commercial owned property. And I think at this point, what we really need to do is try and figure out a way that we can work with people to actually want to do business here, instead of go beyond hoops to find how he can't do business here. And I think at this point, this is wonderful. I think the commercial, what you've done, Bob, is good. I think that there's got to be a way, though, that there already was a former office on this particular parcel. It was already in business for selling double wides.
So he's not building outside that,
He's not, no.
that,
In fact, the impact
It's
has already
gone.
been paid there.
It's gone though. I mean, the building's gone, but, yeah.
the building's gone,
They
but
still have the pad there, the parking pad
the
they had with
pad.
the posts up.
the footprint, that's what I'm trying
The
to say.
footprint is still there, and the impact has already been paid on that. And so furthermore, if we did a little bit of research to see what was actually paid on there, first of all, if he wanted to build another office, and Bob, will you help me with this? If he wants to build something, and he's already paid an impact on the existing footprint, he would not have to do another impact fee for building something that's already on the footprint he already paid. Is that correct?
Well, typically that's correct, if they get credit for whatever is paid. I mean, if the town has increased the fees, then normally whatever he paid in the past would be credited towards the new fees. But
Because you
but
still
if
have
the
to
fees
go
haven't
through
been
building,
raised, then
building
you probably.
permits and have people inspect it, you can't just put building up to like a
But
fire.
as far as
Right.
impact fees.
Right, but
the
impact fees,
should
which
be,
are-
would be covered if the
Exactly.
service levels are the same. You know, if he paid for a 3/4 inch water connection, and that's all he's using, then yeah, that would be paid for.
Well, and that would be with LDWA, so that's not
Right.
even but with the town, the only thing you guys, let's see, the only thing we actually,
Be a building permit fee for the new building.
right. But having said that, are we overlooking this whole thing of having him grandfather claused into something? Because I would like to see us help people want to do business in Leeds rather than hinder them every step of the way to not be able to do business in Leeds.
Yeah.
So-
But we gotta be careful though, because
Right.
if we do something just kind of not,
No, and I'm not saying we don't use our ordinances, but I'm trying to say, at this point, he came to us April 2nd with a formal proposal. 2 weeks before this, he came to the meeting and talked to you about what he needed to do. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he brought his map, but then he came with a formal proposal. So this has been going on over a month and a half, and we haven't given him any more information than the first time he came.
But I think when he first came and talked to me, and I think he said impound yard, we looked up the ordinance, and I said, well, you know, right now it's not listed as permitted use, so the town has to act on it. I
Right.
mean, you're right, we ought to try and accommodate people going into business. The other thing is that, part of the reason for zoning ordinances is their protection for adjoining property owners. Some uses have a ripple effect, they have
Right.
negative implications to the adjoining property owner. So you put yourself in the position of that neighboring property owner, and your neighbor's gonna have an impound yard, what does that do to your property?
Right.
You know, you gotta look at both sides of it, and,
Yeah, I
And see.
understand.
you know, are there some negative impacts? And if so, can they be mitigated? Well,
Right.
you know, screening, maybe landscaping, some of those things can help mitigate the negative aspects, which is usually an aesthetic issue,
Mhm.
you know. So,
Right.
you know, that's, I think, what you're trying to do is,
those
Be fair to
things
both.
are in the next thing we're gonna discuss on chapter
Okay.
six, on chapter 6.
So, can I jump back and forth through discussion items, or do I have to stop?
Sure.
Okay.
Can I just say a
Oh,
little bit though?
uh-huh.
And that is, in directing it to planning commission, the idea is impound lot is definitely something that is right in front of us and is a possibility. I wanted you to discuss it and see if it is something that we can add. And are there other businesses that maybe 5 years ago weren't considered that would be good for the community? And so looking at the list as a whole and evaluating it, right now I see with the fellows, let's see, the cousin's property is up for auction unless they pay their back taxes. Have not been paid for 5 years. And so May 23rd, it could be that it will be sold for back taxes,
Which property is that?
where the country store is right now. And the RV lot. And if we look around, Leeds is dying.
I know.
And, you know, it's not that we allow everything, but I wanted you to consider what are acceptable things. And currently, Mr. Pilkey's business license is not acceptable.
And there are worse things than impound yards.
And you can put restrictions, you know, what qualifications, I'm not getting the right word, but you can put specifications as to what would be needed.
Wayne Peterson, when he addressed me at that meeting, that last Wednesday's meeting, maybe I misunderstood him, but I thought he was very specific about not asking us just to put in for proposed use an impound lot. And I think, that's what I got out of what he was saying. He wanted us to review this, but he didn't want us just to throw that in there. And that's, that's when a red flag went up with me, and I just don't know how we're gonna proceed with that. Be able to allow that, or, how are we gonna do that without being able to put it in there? But, he did say something about the ambiguities in the ordinance,
Yes.
and I think was his word, that's probably my big word for the week.
It was specifically the special provisions. There's an ambiguity there. And in trying to take that provision for auto repair and storage and mold it into this other.
Yeah, that was Frank Loico's big concern. I mean, I thought he was misinformed because, he was saying how it's gonna be a repair facility, and it was gonna, cars are gonna be there for over 30 days, and it's gonna be a mess, and that's why when I got up and spoke to the council, that I said, that his plan was an impound lot, 30 days, take possession of the vehicle and move it off the property, because that's the only way he was going to produce an income, was to get it off the property and bring it to the auction or wherever he was gonna bring it. And it wasn't, and he did say he had no intentions of actually selling it there. He said that may be something down in the future, but it wasn't what he was asking for now. Or, does it say that?
No, yeah, it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah,
is what
so,
he's stating.
that's why I got up to try to be a little more specific about what was going on.
Unfortunately, the other thing too is I spoke with Nate Blake today, and he said that his feeling was that he really felt that this particular incident, it would have been a lot easier if he wouldn't have just jumped into this. And I said, Nate, he has not jumped into this. This is 6 weeks. I mean, I don't know how much more you want to dip your foot in. He has been here to the planning commission numerous times. It's not like he just showed up the other day with a bunch of cars down there. He was not aware of that. He was under the impression that he just jumped into bringing cars in here, didn't tell anybody about it, and then somebody said you need to get a business permit or a business license. And I said, you know, that needs to be, first of all, taken into consideration with the council, is that he's been here quite a bit. And I don't think that he is trying to just jump into something. I really think that this chapter 17 of the commercial district for the automobile impound yard, it says it's not listed in the commercial zone as either permitted or conditional use, but could be considered as similar to an auto repair and storage business. What
But
use
if
do
you
we have for
if you-
storage?
If you do auto business, if you do it under that designation, he's gonna have to have, you know, a building where
Right.
the cars are in the building, I believe, or,
You're right.
it says it here somewhere. I mean, that adds, a tremendous cost to a little impound thing, you know, because he's gonna have to. he's gonna
10,000
have-
square feet of
10,000 square
parking.
feet, all paved, all, you know, it just didn't seem to me to be fair.
Just as you took the mixed use and you added something to it, you can do the same with this. But at this point, it's just discussion.
Yes,
And we're going to think about,
Yeah.
are there, you know, is this a good use of Leeds commercial land? Or are there some other ones that might be also or only added? Just
is
to look it over and think about it.
yeah, I've said this to this,
But I
to
cannot,
this
I
group,
cannot
but I've
issue
said,
him a business
and
license.
I said it to the town council last Wednesday. Is it the best use of that property for this town? No. You know, a spa would be the best use of that property. I mean, I said a massage parlor. I said a massage parlor last time. And at least I think I was going in that direction. But then I changed it, I think. But, you know, but you're, I don't know how to put this. You're
I thought that was Frank that
you're
said that, not you.
you're micromanaging someone that has commercial property,
Right.
that owns commercial property, pays taxes on that commercial property, and we're not gonna let him put cars there for 30 days and then take the cars away.
It's called an
And-
impound lot
An
here.
impound lot, an impound lot.
30 days.
Yeah, and is it pretty? No.
Is it visible from the road?
Is it visible from the road? You know, I mean, you get into chapter 6, and, you know, he has to make it all, you know, first 10 feet, he has to make it all nice and pretty, and, you know, and do some things that we need to discuss next. Or
Okay,
we are discussing.
let me try
now.
rephrasing the request. If you want Mr. Pilkey to have an impound lot, then you need to put it into this chapter
Permitted uses.
Okay.
as a permitted use or as a conditional use, and you put the restrictions that you feel will protect the town. That's the bottom line.
One other aspect too, that in reading the chapter 17, one thing that I think that, it's here in the ordinance anyway, and so if we added something about an impound yard, it's 17-10-2, it says, no trash, rubbish, weeds, or other combustible materials should be allowed to remain on any lot outside of approved containers in any commercial district. No junk, debris, abandoned or dismantled automobile parts, or any other items that appear to be abandoned or similar material shall be stored or allowed to remain on any lot in this district. That right there kind of sets a precedence of what we expect the impound yard to be. And so I don't think that it would be that difficult to put something as an agreeable standard or as a permitted use for our chapter 17 commercial district. Let's also bring in chapter 6 of the parking requirements. Peter, do you want to,
No.
no?
I've read this a couple of times, but
Angie, has Mr. Pilkey, or excuse me, the owner of R&R Plastics, has he made any, I mean, he mentioned it to you, wasn't he the first one that said, what are all these cars doing?
Yeah,
Has he come forward and said, hey, I don't, you know, cars bring thieves, and when they get tired of the cars, and are they gonna come into my place? I mean, has he,
I haven't-
any concerns at all?
I haven't gone back to him. I did meet with him after he came into the office and said, hey, what's going on? I'm having a problem. And I can check back with him and see if it has helped, because Mr. Pilkey has moved almost all the vehicles that were attracting people to park in RR's parking lot
His
and
parking
come
lot,
into
yeah.
their office, bugging them with questions that they weren't able to answer.
Well, until he gets an office up, that's
Yeah.
gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
So
So,
I guess he kind of, and I know he was here on there, he kind of put the cart before the horse,
Yeah.
so to speak.
But we didn't have an ordinance saying you couldn't. There's no ordinance that says that you can't park cars on a commercial property, and it was less than 30 days. So it's not like he was, I mean, I guess there's always 5 sides to every story, but, Bob, would you mind, for your site development standards,
I'll have a fight. Whether it
is
passes,
this
does
your,
anything
is the
here,
site
it'll
development
still be
standard part two,
a battle.
the parking requirements that you went through?
I
It's not
actually
this.
didn't go through any parking requirements, so I'm not sure what chapter 6 is. Let me just, on the site development standards, I looked for what the site standards are for developing in a commercial zone. And it's basically, you have a building height limitation of 35 feet, building setbacks, 25 on the front property line, 10 and 10 on the side and rear. Minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet, and hard surface parking, at least for the employees and customers. It doesn't say beyond that, and then it says outdoor lighting, as per the chapter of the ordinance, and then the privacy fence. Nowhere in the ordinance do I see any landscape requirements in the Leeds, commercial area. Other than, in the parking chapter, there's it says, commercial parking lots shall be xeriscaped and be approved by the town staff. Well, there's no standard, so I don't know what that really means. It shall be xeriscaped, is that 2 feet?
Did you have an item C on?
Well, yeah, and so, you're saying in the zoning ordinance for Leeds, there are no landscape standards, particularly in the commercial zone, and that's probably where you want to have some, at least minimal, landscaping requirements for businesses. Now, obviously, today you have very, very little commercial businesses, and as the town grows, they really create an image for the town.
Right.
You drive by convenience store or whatever, it sets an image. Is this kind of a upscale, nice town, or does it look kind of trashy? A strip of landscaping along the front of that can have a huge impact. Doesn't have to be big, shouldn't be grass, but if you had some shrubs and trees or a bush or something, that kind
So
of,
ivy in the fence,
yeah, something.
grapes.
Yeah, that really improves the image, and so I'm just saying, one of the things that probably should be looked at is some minimal, basic landscape requirement for the commercial area. And the greatest impact is when that's at the front of the lot. And typically, it helps define the driveway anyway, if you're having an approach into the commercial area, then that landscape kind of helps direct the traffic. As opposed to just having a 60-foot wide, opening area where people come and go.
So right now, there are no landscapes for commercial, there's no landscape standards for commercially zoned,
Right.
okay.
But it would have any time.
No,
No,
well, these are proposed sites there.
there's wrong.
The B is proposed additional, but today there are no landscape requirements for any commercial business. Now, the only other thing I noticed,
There are somewhere. I'm trying to find them.
okay, I couldn't find them, Mayor, I looked through it, but I just couldn't find any standards.
Yes.
Bob, did you look in the commercial site plan ordinance?
Is that part of the zoning ordinance? I didn't see anything like that.
That was a document that was just adopted
Well, I may not
a
have seen
year and a
it.
half ago. You probably haven't seen it. I believe there are.
Well, then there may be if that's been adopted. I went through the code and everything, so I wasn't aware of it anyway. The fencing
This
says
happened before I was on the
site
council.
obscuring fence.
Yeah, we've discussed it.
Often, the most
I thought you were voting.
inexpensive thing to do is chain link with
The slats.
slats.
It's
And
not in this book, but we
in
have
recent
some.
years, they've come a long ways
Really?
in doing some nice slats, but
This
there's also
book
some
here
real
probably
cheap
isn't
stuff out there,
100%
some
up
real
to date.
vinyl, and that's, the cheap stuff deteriorates real quick in sunlight. And you've seen it, all you, if a car backs into it or anybody, that stuff gets brittle. Now, in our St. George Fort Pierce Industrial Park, there's a new business that did put in chain with slats. And these slats are really thick, heavy duty, so if you use that, then it's a much better fence. So somewhere we probably ought to have a little standard on, what constitutes a site obscuring fence.
I think what you've got, the old stuff is what.
The old stuff,
Has it next to the
Well, it's not there anymore, if you notice, it's taken it all out.
Oh, have it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Probably.
And I think he's gonna put new ones in.
yeah, the old stuff will really deteriorate quick.
It does. All right, so at this point,
But I said this last week, and I'll say it again, 17.3.2, automobile repair and storage include, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. I'm sorry. Oh, here it is, 17.10.1, special provisions. All materials and merchandise except vehicles in running order shall be stored in an enclosed building or within an enclosure surrounded by a site obscuring fence or wall of not less than 6 feet in height. The key word here is running order.
Right, that is a key word.
Being in running order, according to that, I can't tell him he's gotta fence it in.
That's right, you would have to.
Yeah, and although, would it be the right thing to do? Absolutely. But,
Well, I think that's where
Well-
we put it down as impound yards, and the impound yards will be totally fenced in.
I think that,
I think you addressed that in your recommendation that, yeah, I read,
impound yards, I think almost by definition,
Have to be.
most of them are
Yeah.
not in running order.
Oh.
That's-
well,
Go get a car that's been sitting there for a month or something like that.
when they go and collect the car, they don't drive it, they
Totally.
lift it up and
Right.
tow it away.
Yeah.
And then when they bring it to wherever it's going, they tow it away, so yeah. I mean, we could micromanage that, but
is special provisions, included in conditional and permitted, or is it one of its own? Is special provisions one of its very own thing that you can use as an ordinance?
Well, special provisions apply to everything in the commercial zone, it's just an additional provision,
So-
additional. It applies to the permitted use, conditional use, to all of them.
So it's an added on to, so you either have to have, but you can't just use all material and merchandise shall be stored in an enclosed building or except vehicles, you can't use that as a basis for starting a business, then you have to have the first permitted or the conditional use.
Yes, I mean, this, the permitted and conditional use lists the uses, and then these other things are supplementary, additional regulations that apply. For example, if you got equipment or storage, then you have to fence it unless it's, except for vehicles in running order, so those are additional provisions.
So anywhere in that special provisions, does it say that you have to have a flat top? Where you had said that there has to be 10,000 square feet of hard surface parking, but it doesn't necessarily
No,
say that
this
you have to.
that's his recommendation.
I
Right.
think it doesn't,
Site development standards.
the ordinance says the minimum lot in a
Vegetation.
commercial zone is 10,000 square feet. It doesn't all have to be paved by any means, it just says that's the minimum lot size.
All it needs to be paid is for
Specifications.
But typically,
employees and customers.
But if there was an impound lot, it doesn't have to be completely paved at this point, right? Or is it in St. George, do you have to have it paved?
This is from 2008.
I've seen some of the centers that are not.
Have you?
But
Okay.
then
They're gonna be old ones. I think in ours code, we say that if it's used for, you know, commercially, well, no, let me say, no, they don't, red flags going out in Fort Pierce that it's not red paved.
Okay,
So we have not required all of them to be paved.
okay.
Customer and, you know, the customer, parking and the employees.
I think I sat through those meetings. Must it become, she was on.
But, you know,
Right.
6.7.1
Because I
surfacing,
know
I mean, it says right here, each off-street parking lot
a general.
shall be surfaced
Whatever
with
they finished it.
an asphalt-type substance or Portland cement, which is concrete,
Some document.
or with a
That's been
binder
some hours.
pavements to provide a dustless surface.
But that's
That's
a
when
parking
she's
lot,
conflict.
So, I mean,
that I would say would be like a parking lot for a store.
I mean, that's a good question, Peter.
yeah, but, you know, an impound lot would be an impound parking lot, wouldn't it? Or, you know, because I saw it somewhere, and I'm not sure where, but I saw it somewhere where you have to have 3 paved parking spaces for so many square feet.
It's no
So it's
less
like if he
than-
has that little building, he has to have 3 parking spaces for that.
Right.
And why does he have, you know, I mean, from what I'm reading here, I don't know if I'm reading it wrong, but why, you know, I don't think he should have to pave, you know, where he's putting all the cars.
Well, here, in 6.4.11, it says all other uses not listed above, which is not listed, as determined by the planning commission and approved by the town council based on the nearest comparable use standard. So at least it gives us something wide open that we can have a comparable use of standards, because we don't have anything remotely in here.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, your 6.4.10 is where it talks about 3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of.
I know, I read it somewhere.
Yeah, but see, he doesn't have total floor space, it's not a commercial building.
Well,
So
the
that
office
would
would be considered commercial building.
Yeah, but it's,
Let's see, Drake was here
I mean,
until
it's not, but it is.
June
So,
yeah,
Because the public's gonna come into it
Maybe
as,
10.
and use it as.
well, they're gonna come into it, they're
Why
gonna
would
pay
that
their
not be
car off, and
retail
then they're
storage
gonna
shops?
hire him to tow it back to where they had it, so he can sit there.
See, this one says 3 parking spaces for every 1,000. This is a shopping center, this is a retail store. And each one, this one says 3 for every, let's see, is it the same exact thing?
Yeah, then you get,
So there we go. Okay,
so I think, like that section you just read, the all other uses. So, and the impound yard, of course, currently is not listed, but then the planning commission can say, we recommend this many as a reasonable number of parking stalls. So what Bill's saying is the impound yard is maybe a storage area, not a parking lot. And the
Right.
parking is the customer and the employees.
yeah, from the, I don't know where his office is, but from the office back is all storage basically, and the office forward is parking. If you're not gonna let these people go back in.
You could say
Right.
that's not a parking lot, you could say the front of the thing is a parking lot.
well, and the other thing that he does have going for him is he has actually 3 parcel IDs. And so I believe he's gonna have 2 EIN numbers per se. One is the impound lot, one would be the selling of the cars. And so at that point, we'd almost have to look at which shop or which entity he's going to be doing with which parcel. Because we can't necessarily say this parcel, because you're doing it with the impound lot, has to do all of it, because it's not all the same, it's not gonna be all the same impound lot, do you know what I mean?
But it's gonna be one business.
Well,
That's
no,
why
I don't-
he would submit a site plan
Right.
showing, here's my business.
and
And it
then
would show the area involved.
that would be where we would kind of continue on with this. I do think that we should put something in as maybe impound yard, like on C, defining the use.
He's doing on-site sales.
He's not,
He's
no.
done,
He's not doing on-site sales.
But on that,
He said in that sheet, he
this
said,
thing-
in the future, he may be doing that.
right,
But he'll have to apply for a
That's
different
state,
license,
yeah.
or another license to get that privilege.
now he did say this small office will be built on the existing site for the former office. This will serve as an office for the impound lot and future home of small used auto dealership. So I guess we'll just have to maintain the whole thing as one entity. And one parcel will have to be the same as the next parcel too, so. All right, what do you guys wanna do then? Do you want to continue? Let's see here, we have the zoning ordinance for chapter 17, commercial district, that Bob has, given to us for defining the uses that we can pass on. The development standards. I don't see anything on the development standards that I would change.
You know, on this development standards, I've thrown out the idea of landscaping, but, and a couple of options, you know. St. George and some other communities I know have started out or said that 5% of a commercial lot should be landscaped. That turns out to be actually quite a reasonable figure, but we've since gone, and I think more effective, is just define a certain width of a strip up along the front of the property. That's where the landscaping has the most impact. It's along the public street. So, you know, St. George is 15 feet today. We have the requirement for 15 feet wide. For Leeds, it might be a little wide. You know, you can have them pretty effective if it's 10 feet wide, and it's, you know, landscape. So I'm just saying, those are a couple of options. I don't want to dictate. Obviously, I'm not a resident of your town, so you'll have to say what you think is right for Leeds.
15 feet wide in front of businesses, you say, or?
Yes. Yeah, the standard.
Any of the new ones.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with 10 feet.
But 10 feet is.
Yeah, but if you put it down as 5%, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to put it on the street that they're about, you know, that they come off of. You know, they could put that 5% in the back.
And so that's the problem with that.
Yeah,
that's
so
what-
saying 5%, they can put it anywhere they want, they can put it in the middle.
Or you can designate 5%
Yeah,
in the front,
Yeah, you say
20 feet
5%.
of the lot.
yeah, well, that,
And it may be simpler just to say.
10 feet.
10 feet
Yeah.
wide,
10
Yeah,
feet
I
in the
like
width
that.
of the property
in the front.
excluding the driveway.
Because
Right.
especially with this gentleman's land, that 5%, a lot of his land is hillside.
He can,
He could throw some seeds on the
on the
hillside.
hillside and say,
So the 10 feet along the frontage, you know, that's, obviously that doesn't count, the driveway's excluded, and so that would help with the aesthetics, you know.
Offer an incentive for the businesses to landscape the front of their property and then see what happens, see what people are doing, and write an ordinance on it.
I apologize for that. He knew he was supposed to do landscaping, and he hadn't done it.
All
And
right.
he hadn't done it because,
It would be nice to see something in front of Walton.
Except with rocks. Why would we
like,
be so
something
afraid
really
of
came
rocks?
past, now I can't remember
that's desert landscaping, those rocks.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah, there's another one, what kind of landscape,
I don't know when
desert,
he came.
desert landscape.
I didn't
On the,
say-
On this 15 foot, you require that whole thing, or a tree here, and
We
and
say-
a bush here, or just an area like a flower bed?
We say it's 15 feet wide, and half of that area has to consist of live plant material. And we actually discourage grass, you know,
Oh,
grass,
you're kidding me.
grass is a headache. We don't prohibit that grass is, requires a lot of maintenance. We say half of that landscape area has to be in live plant material. It could be a ground cover, a shrub, or whatever. And then it actually says as mature within 5 years. So it doesn't actually have to have 50% coverage the day it goes in, but
Yeah, our church in
That's good
St.
to
George
know.
had to
They own property
To
in
rip
St.
up parking
George.
lot
I was always under the
and
assumption it
plant
had to be
more
grass.
trees
So we
on
have
a
all
side
kinds of
street.
off grass for.
so, yeah, we discourage
Very
grass
beautiful
and have
landscaping on
for
other
15
parts.
years, actually. We don't prohibit it. Some people put it in because it's easy. You know, it's easy and quick.
All right,
The recommendation number 2, site development standards. are we going to interpret hard surface parking as the parking in front of the building to go in to pay for your car, and are we gonna interpret it as meaning that, or are we gonna interpret that as meaning everywhere where he puts a car?
Customer and employee.
Yeah, this just says hard surface at least for employees and customer parking.
Oh, it does, okay, I'm sorry.
Of course, that's.
I did read that.
That's my interpretation.
Yes, that's an excellent interpretation.
What's the outdoor lighting then? Is there just what's the specifications for St. George on lighting? I know there's a lot of people in Leeds that get quite adamant about not having lighting.
Yeah.
It's never dark.
Yeah.
It's never dark at my house.
Really?
My neighbor's got night lights behind me, one on the side of me.
Oh my gosh, I know.
One street light, you gotta put some shades on your window.
Yeah, probably ought to put screens on me.
In this
Gives them
commercial
extra
zone,
something.
you know, on page 4, under 17.8, it says lighting, it says all lighting must comply with the Leeds lighting ordinance. I haven't actually found exactly where that ordinance is, so I can't tell you exactly what.
We just sent that to the town council.
One thing, when the fire department had put some spotlights out in front, it raised havoc with people up above. Yeah, they had to put
Had to put covers on.
the covers and
Oh,
everything's
yeah.
right down.
Yeah, you're
And if
right.
this guy, if we had to get lighting there,
Right.
I mean, you're really gonna have to,
Well, they make them now, I mean, when the lights we've got at fairgrounds, or I don't know what they're called, they just shoot down, they don't shoot out.
yeah, right.
Now, we've got one parking lot that shoot out, and that's, so during the fair, we've got that parking
Maybe
lot.
that's
there.
the section.
But all we gotta do is turn it down flat, and you go straight
Go
down.
straight
It doesn't-
down.
it doesn't shoot out anywhere.
Yeah, in the fire department, we first put those lights up at,
Oh, yeah.
the people up in El Dorado
I just
Hill
didn't know the way this rips.
came on in. I would too.
Oh,
I wish that I could go out with a telescope at any time of the
Separate
night.
document, but maybe that's what
Turn
it
your
is.
porch light off, and you can go see.
Shall not shine on the adjoining property. So maybe that's. I
Did
mean,
you find it?
Well,
What's it under?
yeah, Angela's found it, it's in the parking section,
What's the?
6.7.4, which simply says that the lights shall not shine off-site on, on the neighboring property.
Was that the lighting ordinance they're talking about, or is that just?
That's
the-
just
Parking
your
lot.
that's
Lighting
just
for
a parking lot.
the parking.
Right.
Maybe that's.
So we'd have one light that shines straight down the parking lot, and that would suffice.
All right. Okay, well. I will ask for either continued discussion or whatever you guys may like.
Do we know what we want to send to the town council, or do we need to discuss it more, so that we know what we're sending?
It's up to you.
We need to have a definitive plan, we need to have a public hearing, and possible action item after the public hearing.
We need a public hearing for, just to add something to
I
the.
guess you're changing the zoning.
Yeah, that's right.
We're changing the code.
Yeah.
So is there anything we can do so we can have that public hearing in 2 weeks, so that we can get him on his way or not on his way? What would we need to do that?
Well, you'd have to give definitive language.
Well, I think if we were to kind of adopt this, and then make the changes, of course, on the 10 feet along the frontage instead of the 5%, that would at least get it started. So I'm really interested to see if the planning commission, not being the land use authority, if we have to have public hearings. And I understand that we'd like to have public
Right.
comment, but if we don't have to have public hearings per se, and we have public comment, it's pretty much the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And
It's
so.
just not notified.
It's just not advertised.
It's not advertised, but on the other hand, it would be advertised through, and they'd still have an opportunity to change it at that point if, you
But
know.
I think that's what the town council doesn't want to have to do, is
I don't think we need two public hearings.
Yeah, one here and one there.
I think we used to do that.
And I'll,
I thought that they had changed public hearings, you didn't have to advertise it in the newspaper, simply post it and have it on the website. That was the issue. And post it in 3 places, 4 places.
Well, I'm not for having a public hearing in 2 weeks from today on this. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't wanna get into a rush situation where we say, we gotta do something, whether it's right or wrong, but we're gonna have a public hearing. I'd rather,
I agree, but.
I'd rather have everything done and say, this is what we come up with. Now let's have a public hearing and see what the public has to say about it, or, you know, and make some changes then.
Well, maybe Paul will come back next week.
Yeah, I think that'd
We
be
don't have to have a public hearing, we just put it together next week and send it to them.
Right.
well, at least at a minimum, we can refine it based on the input you've given. We can
Yeah.
refine this and come back with a more specific proposal, at least in terms of landscaping.
Right.
Now, we draft something that says the front 10 feet, or 10 feet wide along the public street frontage. And then define what that means, maybe half of that area in some kind of a live plant material, something like that, and put some actual language to it.
Do we wanna have, defining the uses, do you wanna eliminate C? 1C, automobile impound yard is not, well, it's not eliminated, but not do this. What's the recommendation? Yeah, could be considered as similar to auto repair and storage. As a conditional use. Well, I guess there really isn't anything wrong with that, is there?
So what you're saying is not as impound yard as permitted uses?
Well, no, I mean, if you, really, we're looking to do that. We're looking, we're looking to add it as a permitted use.
Right.
Is there anything in that?
I mean, I think we almost need to, just so that it doesn't start as an impound yard and then end up as an auto repair, and you've got junk scattered from one place to the other without having.
Well, I mean, from what Angela said, she thought, I mean, maybe I misunderstood Wayne, but maybe that's what we need to do, is to add it to the permitted uses, an impound lot, add it to the permitted uses, and
With the
the defining of the uses
Right,
is use what Bob's got here.
right. I think that would, I'm not saying you're misinterpreting what he said, but I think what he said is don't just add it and then hand it back to it.
Right.
Add it and then let us know what the parameters are for the impound.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was referring to.
So maybe it's.
But I don't have any problem with this.
So it's,
I think the impound yard, if we do an impound yard, you wanna have like a maximum size. You wouldn't want, Red Blake's got, or how big is that thing?
huge, yeah,
20 acres?
yeah.
I don't know.
Say, Jordan?
Yeah. You wouldn't, if you're gonna have an impound yard, you'd wanna contain it to a relatively small, I don't know.
What's the acreage
No, I
you've
haven't
got down there now?
Don't you have it to 10,000 feet, 10,000
Well,
square feet?
That's the minimum lot size, that's not the maximum. What I'm saying, what I'm asking the question is there a maximum area that we should have for an impound yard? Would you feel comfortable with a 10-acre impound yard in a commercial zone? That's too big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe 3 acres or 2 acres,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
so I'm just saying,
We could limit it.
you probably want to have a maximum size on an impound yard.
Because that way the cars are being moved out and not stored.
Right. You
That's
wouldn't
the only
want,
way he's gonna make, yeah, it's not just, 5 acres is still a lot.
5 acres for Leeds, I think it'd be too big.
That'd be too big,
Especially
yeah.
downtown.
Yeah, when in
Yeah,
a
that's
commercial
what it
area.
is.
Now, his site is what, I forget his.
I'm looking for it because I have it,
You know, and I don't know if an acre's a pretty big area, if you have a full cars. That's a big
Yeah, I
area.
was gonna ask, how
And
many
that would-
cars?
and that
How
would
many
be
cars
just-
could we get in 10,000 square feet?
Depends on the car.
I mean, you don't have
look
to,
at my truck
it's
out
not,
there,
it's not
too.
like you're parking them and you have
Right.
to, you have to be able to open the doors and you have
Right.
to, you can't have somebody parking behind them and, I mean, they can move cars and grab it and
Right.
take it away.
well, there it is, there's the, it's,
Oh, is it 3/4? Yeah. So.
this is R and R.
You know, the other,
This is R and R, this is his, so,
what the town council has liked in the past is we could, we
Well,
could also
my draft
not
was
limit
just
it,
like-
we could say
I
that,
didn't know it yet,
you know, town council could
If you have an extra copy.
have the option
This was in
to
your packet, wasn't it?
choose the size. You know, I don't know what you, whatever one you'd like to do.
And here comes the only thing I worry about.
What part?
You know, the only problem with Frisbee is what he wanted to do there. And he had no, he didn't have appropriate access. You know,
What is 75 by 220 in acreage?
Well, I think Andrew said his property's about, what was it, 2/3 of an acre? or-
Well, I thought it was more than that, this is the site that he, kind of the site plan. 220 by 75.
220 by 75. It's about 15,000 square feet.
16,500.
So 16,000 square feet,
So that's less than half an acre.
and that's the portion that he wanted to fence, and then the rest, of course, I think is a hill.
He's already got it fenced.
He's already fenced. I knew.
Well, he's got
the
it.
other day it wasn't
he's
fenced.
got a fence going across the entrance. He doesn't have it fenced completely.
Got the site.
Have you looked at it lately?
I thought I looked at it a couple of days ago. Like, did he put the fence all the way
I
around?
don't know, it was like 10 days ago that I looked down on it from above, and it appeared to be fenced. It had been graded, and he was gonna pave it.
Well, he's going to pave it.
I think that's what he said.
No, we're wrong. It was in the creek.
Yes. Right down back in.
Right back in the
Instead of the cars.
Yes.
You know, you got hard rain and the cars will just flow down into the creek.
Well, that's all right. Then eventually it'll just fill up and we won't have it. That's what we feel it all. Places it.
Well, car dam.
That's right, the damn car.
All right, so at this point, I'm hearing that we just want to table this for 2
Yeah.
weeks? Is
We're
that
gonna-
what
We're
you-
not gonna
Come
table
back
it.
with
We're
some
gonna-
garbage.
We're gonna review, we'll discuss it at our next meeting.
Okay, so it will be under discussion items, possible, discussion and possible action, I guess? Or do we,
No.
no, we need to still have a public hearing if
We
if
think.
possible.
We think.
Well, I'll do it, I'll check.
We'll get a ruling on
We'll get a ruling on that, and if we don't have to have a public hearing, yes, we could finalize it if we all agree.
And then between then and now and then,
We can,
they want us to look and see if there's anything you want to add or take away from this.
Right.
Essentially change it.
Yes.
Ruby.
All right, so are there any staff reports at this point? I will be going over to Sunrise Engineering tomorrow, and I also, for the map, but I also contacted Ron Whitehead. I had an emergency Monday morning where I could not attend our previously accepted time, but I'm a mom first, sorry.
Mom's not
So.
busy.
No, my little girl broke her tooth, so I had to go take care of that. But anyway, he did call me and he said that he would be doing his own personal research on all of the roads and he would get back with me. I haven't heard from him yet, but I'll call him first thing in the morning. He said that he's pretty sure that the Leeds Township, when it was adopted in, he's 100% positive that they may not have been dedicated, but it's in the actual plat.
Town
So-
plat, yeah.
Right, so he's gonna do that, he's also going to look into, different subdivisions and see if they're recorded on there. I did that for an hour and a half, but he's welcome to too, so, but we will meet with him soon and, just give, I figure if we can get his professional opinion on what we should do, then
Right.
doing, yes.
Chapter 6, what did you decide?
we're going to review it as a discussion item next
Next time.
And I didn't understand really what the issues on the park in chapter 6, was there a particular issue that? I don't.
Was that to do with the
I
impound
think,
yard?
I think it
is a
was,
parking
I think it was
lot?
the interpretation, I think there were members of the town council, or I think Joe Allen's, the way he read it, one of the things on there, that he thought it all had to be paved. And, you know, I think that they were asking us to review it, and, doesn't necessarily mean we have to make any changes, but I think we're all in agreement that we don't believe it says that he has to pave the storage facility. He has to have pavement or concrete where the cars come in to park, employees and people that, potential people that come in to get their car out of hock. Do you agree? So,
Alrighty.
I think, you're gonna put it on as a discussion item, a continued discussion
Yeah.
item?
When we define impound yard, that'll be there anyway, whether it has to be fixed.
Right, because it'll be in the commercial district anyway. Yeah.
It may not be an issue if Angela says he's gonna pave it, and he paves it.
We don't have to worry about it.
I'm
All right.
not positive, but I think that's what he said.
It is 9:31, and I will ask for a
I
motion
will
to
make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn,
Second.
and I will help.
Or-
9:30.